You're listening to The Pump Fake.
And welcome into the latest edition of the Pump Fake, everybody. Jarrett Bailey with you as always, joined by my good friend JP Acosta. JP, every time you're on here from now on, I feel like I should just sing you in, just go, hey, oh, just play Bad Biddy.
I think we need that. I think I gotta get a little special intro.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
After the Pump Fake intro, just lead right into it.
Right. The front row should give you a bad bitch. And then JP comes in. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll know who it is.
Yeah. Every time that comes on, like it came out in the gym like 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna tweet this because every time it does, it reminds me of you and it makes me laugh.
Yeah, that's perfect because my brother has also said the same thing.
That's funny, but it's always good to see you, my friend. We are gearing up for, well, let's see. I think the Chargers already started training camp. Their rookies and veterans, I think, reported as well because they got the Hall of Fame game. I don't know if the Lions have yet or not, but regardless, we do have training camp currently in progress in the NFL, which is always exciting. This is kind of the foundation where we're going to leap off of from here until February. It's going to be full steam ahead, which feels, good for us. For the past few months, it's kind of been that dead zone where we're just kind of been lying and waiting. So we'll start off with some news before we get into today, which will be the JP and I going back and forth ranking our top 10 quarterbacks. JP recently put out his top 10 on SB Nation. I put out mine a while back in terms of my top 30. So we're just going to kind of duel our top 10, but some news around the NFL, both Sauce Gardner and Trey Smith getting big time extensions, both of those well earned. It does blow my mind though, like especially with the Trey Smith thing, where we pretty much expect deals like that to get done, and it always comes down to like the last half hour where they can do it, and then it's like, all right, Trey Smith's now 4 years. Was it 4 years, $96 million that Trey Smith got?
I think it was in that range. It's either 92 or 96.
So I just don't understand why it always takes this long. You could have just done this a week ago and it would have been fine. But regardless, both of these deals well earned, especially for the Chiefs who were coming off a bad performance from that offensive line in the Super Bowl. They needed to lock up Trey Smith long term. We'll get your thoughts on both of those. The Jets paid Garrett Wilson not very long ago, and then immediately paying Sauce Gardner, locking down their cornerstones as well. So what are your thoughts on both of those?
I think for the Jets to start off, it's a feather in their cap to how proactive they were. Mm-hmm. We've seen a lot of teams in the NFL, namely the Bengals and the Cowboys, end up being reactive when it comes to their players who are going to make big money extensions. But we've seen the proactive teams like the Eagles. They have gotten out and done their contracts for their elite guys early. And so that way, when they reset the market, when Derek Stingley comes up for another couple of years to get another extension, the Sauce Gardner contract isn't going to look crazy at all. I think it's a good deal for him. He has been one of the best corners in the league. He had an off year last year just because the Jets in general just were off. But The Garrett Wilson contract extension was also a good deal of business for the Jets because you have Drake London coming up. You're going to have another extension for you're going to have extensions for a lot of the big name guys. Terry McLaurin is coming up.
I was going to say that I think that immediately, if you're Terry McLaurin, you're sitting there saying, all right, you guys waited. There's another one that just came off the board. It's going to at least start there. So I think that's a good bit of business for the Jets. But if you're the Commanders right now, you're saying, oh, shit, all right.
Yeah, and then you got guys like George Pickens who are still going to get a contract later on. But I think it's good for the Jets to go out and get ahead and get this done early. So that way they don't have to worry about it right now. They've already paid them, and that number is going to look crazy low, especially when we get the Drake London extension, when we get an upcoming George Pickens extension. We're probably going to get some more big-name contracts to come out later on. So I'm proud, and I think it's a good bit of business by the Jets to go out and get this done early before anybody else had a chance to up that number. We've seen teams end up getting priced way into the massive numbers by just getting done early. And I think the Jets did a good job of avoiding that. For the Chiefs, They had to pay Trey Smith. I
Absolutely.
think Trey Smith is a very good guard. I don't know about best guard or highest paid guard in the NFL, but when you're very good and your extension comes up, you have to reset. You're going to reset the market. But they had to do this. They had to keep some form of continuity. But when you're able to keep Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith together on the same offensive line, that keeps that continuity around, especially as the offensive line kind of changes around them. So I'm cool with it. I think it makes a lot of sense. And it was one of those things they ultimately had to get done, even despite, you lost Justin Reed, you lost Joe Tooney. You had to pay Trey Smith.
Yeah. And when it looks like the offensive line right now, I mean, obviously going to have a different situation at left tackle. I think they're going to bump Kingsley inside to play guard. So you need to have at least some sort of continuity there. Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, that gives you that at least on one side of the ball. And we'll see what their offensive line looks like come 2025 when the season kicks off. But today we're going to talk about our top 10 quarterbacks. So let's dive into that. I think you and I probably have the same number one as everybody does around the NFL. But it's become more of a conversation as of late. I don't know if it's just because it's, been June, July. Everybody's been bored. We kind of need a talking point. People trying to put other quarterbacks at number one besides Patrick Mahomes. And to me, it's kind of like the Jordan fatigue where there's years are like, oh, Karl Malone won an MVP. Is he better than Mike? Oh, I think we're kind of getting that with Patrick at this point. Other quarterbacks have had better statistical seasons for sure. I think Josh and Lamar both had better regular seasons last year for sure. Joe Burrow did as well. But I think until we see one of those guys win a Super Bowl or at least beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, it's hard for me to put anybody else above Mahomes.
I think I agree with you, but I also disagree. I think Patrick Mahomes is number one, but I do think the margin is closing a little bit. I think it's not because Mahomes has slowed down, but it's because everybody else in that range, in that area, is still getting better. They are just as good. It's like being in one tier, you have Patrick Mahomes, and in the tier below him, you have Mahomes Ian. Like you can do the same stuff that Patrick Mahomes does, but like you said, I think a lot of people don't really understand how much Patrick Mahomes had to do with that offense, not only to get it to a passable level, but get them back to the Super Bowl. It feels a lot like, I hate to say it, but it feels like Brady. It feels like Gen Z Brady.
I think that's fine.
All over again, because what he's done in terms of maximizing the short area, the quick game, and then just being one of the best third down players in the entire NFL, being one of the best fourth quarter players in the entire NFL. That stuff matters. That winning in the margins matters so much because of how the Chiefs have won in the margins for the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, I mean, all their one score wins last year was like one of the talks of the NFL, where that's just such a historical thing that we'll never see again. And a lot of that was because, I mean, when you have 15 under center to be able to do special things, that's a good card to have in your hand.
Yeah, and I mean, it's part of how they're built. It's how they're built to win. It doesn't matter what score is going into the fourth quarter. As long as you have Patrick Mahomes, you're going to have a shot at winning the football game. So I think as long as you have that guy under center and that guy is still in the league, he's still number one. But I do think the margin is closing a little bit.
That's fair. I know for a fact we're going to differ here. It's where we always differ. Josh Allen is my number two, coming off another season of 40-plus total touchdowns, won his first MVP. The talk last year with the Bills, at least for a lot of people, was, all right, no more Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis is gone. Whole new set of receivers, none of them proven. Probably going to take a step back are the Buffalo Bills. It might be the year for the Jets to take a step forward with Rodgers, maybe the Dolphins. And instead, they win another AFC East title. There's one of the best offenses in the NFL. And if you take regular season and postseason, they scored the most points of anybody in the NFL. And a lot of that, none of that happens if Josh Allen isn't under center and you just have some average Joe Schmo back there. So I think he is the closest thing, in my opinion, to Mahomes in the NFL in terms of every time they play one another, they bring out the best in each other, where none of them seem to have a bad game whenever they face off. And it seems almost destined at this point that they're going to face each other in the postseason almost every year. And it's just so happens that each time something happens where the Bills come up just that much short. So Josh is my number 2. I think in terms of physical specimen, there's nothing like him in the NFL. Just he's going to run through you. He's going to throw it all over the place. But his maturation to being a more efficient quarterback last year was something special to see as well. And I think in terms of just pound for pound guy in the NFL, I think he's the most talented quarterback. But obviously that Lombardi still awaits him in Buffalo. We'll see if they get it done this year.
So my number 2 and number 3 are as interchangeable as you can get. It depends on the week. It depends on, honestly, you could even say like 2, 3, and 4 is a little interchangeable.
I think the top 4 have to be those 4 guys that we're going to talk about. And it's, you can put them in just about any order.
Yeah. I mean, I have Lamar Jackson as my number 2. And the statistical and by every data point, just how absurd Lamar Jackson's season was last year. Per ESPN, his QB rating his passer rating was 119.6. The only person above him was Marcus Mariota, and he only played in 3 games.
Right.
The next person below him that actually played a full season as starting quarterback was Jared Goff, and he was at 111. Like, he was so good and so efficient last season as a passer. It felt like he had truly mastered the pocket passing and some of the real like elite top tier throws, while also still being the most dangerous person with the ball in his hands in the NFL. And I think what Derrick Henry did was kind of like, Derrick Henry is an awesome addition to that offense, but he is not the reason that the offense became what it was. Lamar Jackson is the reason Derrick Henry was able to rejuvenate himself in Baltimore. I think that his gravity as a runner and the force that he plays with as a runner and a passer I think it's Mahomesian. Like you said, both he and Josh Allen had the similar struggles of sometimes you just run into the wrong team in the playoffs, and sometimes you just run into the Chiefs and they do the Chiefs thing. But it feels like we're doing the whole, like, it's sort of similar to when Brady, Big Ben, Phillip Rivers, and Peyton Manning were all in the AFC, where like all these guys are Hall of Famers, elite quarterbacks in their time. They just couldn't get past Tom Brady. So I think Lamar Jackson's my number 2. But again, 2 and 3 are honestly as interchangeable as they can get. You can tell me week in, week out which one is number 2, and I'll be like, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so I think that's a good analogy. But if one of them has to be Phillip Rivers and be the guy that doesn't end up getting a ring, which one is it?
Oh man,
I have my pick, and I don't think that whoever you pick, it's necessarily like 100% their fault, quote unquote, because they're obviously great talents. But if I had to pick which one probably won't get one, it would probably be Burrow, just because the team around him is horrible.
100% Joe Burrow. Not just the team around him is horrible, but let me
also say Joe Burrow is better than Phillip Rivers was, in my opinion. Like, I think he is on track to have a better career than Phillip Rivers. But in terms of just the analogy at hand, I do think he would be the Phillip in this case, where he might get back to the AFC Championship game, might even get to another Super Bowl. And if he does, the eyes will be on him in terms of, okay, can you get it done this time? But if I had to pick one of them, just because of the team around him, he would probably be the Phillip in this situation.
I think he's Phillip. And it's not just because the team around him is bad, but it feels like the Bengals are doing everything they can to undercut themselves.
Just organizationally dysfunctional.
Yeah, I mean, we have reports that Shamar Stewart's looking into going back to playing college football,
which I'm pretty sure he's not allowed to do, right? Like, you can't do that.
He's not allowed to do it, but I want to see him try. I really want to see how far this thing can go, and I hate to take it on as an aside, but I really do think, like, regardless of what happens with Shamar Stewart, this is setting a precedent for a lot of teams and a lot of players. You can't void guarantees,
right?
So I think whatever happens there, I just want to see pure chaos. I want to see unprecedented things happen. But the Bengals are absolutely like speed running the Phillip Rivers Chargers era, because again, you have the Hall of Fame quarterback, you have the Hall of Fame skill position talent in LT, Antonio Gates, and then you have Jamar and T. Higgins, but you're never gonna get there. And it's tough. It sucks, he led league in passing last year, and they missed the playoffs, and they still might miss the playoffs this year. So it's just tough.
It is tough. Joe Burrow is my 3 and Lamar Jackson is my 4. I won't argue with too many people who would say Lamar's 3 and Joe Burrow's 4. Especially after last year where like Lamar helped the Ravens get to the postseason, Joe Burrow didn't. So I wouldn't push back too far on that. I think just if I had to pick one of those guys, like down 5, minute 30 left, who am I picking? I'd probably give the slight edge to Burrow, but I think those are the undisputed top 4 guys. If you have anybody else in your top 4, it's probably wrong. And I would assume you have Burrow 4 then, right? And Allen 3?
I have Burrow 4, Allen 3.
Okay.
Again, gotcha. I don't care who you put as 2 or 3 when it comes to Lamar versus Josh Allen. I think they're actually very similar players in both how they win, how they kind of have been attacked by defenses. But I think Burrow is the clear number 4 in the group. And that's not saying like Joe Burrow is not as good as these guys. They are in one group. But if you're asking me to pick between those 3, I'm going to pick Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen, just because I think all 3 of those guys are just as good, if not slightly below Joe Burrow when it comes to the mental makeup and the processing of the game, while also being 3 of the best athletes to play the positions. So I think Burrow is number 4, but he is one of the best number 4 quarterbacks in the NFL that we've seen for a long time.
Yeah, and each of them possesses like a different like superpower too. Like Mahomes, if a game's close, you're just not going to be able to stop him. More than likely, it's going to take something special to do it. Josh is just a freight train of power when it comes to running the football and when it comes to his arm. Lamar, the most elusive player in the NFL, the most elusive quarterback of all time. And I think Burrow pre-snap is also very good at diagnosing things and figuring out, all right, what can we do to make this as easy on the offense as possible? So all 4 of them, incredible. And looking forward to seeing, hopefully, at least a couple playoff matchups that involve the 4 of them this coming season.
So this actually brings up a little bit of an idea, small mini game. If we were comparing the top 4 to pro wrestlers.
Oh, okay.
So I think Lamar is very Jeff Hardy-ish.
Okay.
Because, like, he's just so freaking cool. Like,
right.
he's just a very cool player. He has all of his fans, and just, like, again, he's one of the coolest players to enter the league and play the quarterback position. But there's always sometimes he just gonna crash and burn.
Right. No, that's good. I like that.
It makes sense. I think Josh Allen, I think I'm going to say Batista.
Oh, I swear to God, I was thinking, okay, maybe a Goldberg Batista type situation with Josh.
Just the sheer force.
Yeah.
It's incredible watching him and watching the heater he goes on, where like it's just boom, 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 boom. It's either like a 30-yard throw, 15-yard run, escape, sack on 3rd down, move the chains, touchdown. And it's like, you might be able to keep him down for a little bit, but it's not for long. Because then he's going to fire back with just automatic firepower.
I think with Mahomes, like immediately to me, it's Kenny Omega. With just he's able to do so many different things that hurt you and so many different styles that hurt you. So I think just the versatility there when it comes to that is very Omega-ish. If you want to say Okada as well, and they're in his prime, like that would also be totally cool with me.
I was thinking Okada, but also like peak reign of terror Triple H.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah,
to say that the refs help him or Evolution helps him, but also like he's got some bangers in there. Like he's just really good. What about Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow, I feel like he's more like maybe like a Bret Hart. He's very like tactical.
I think Bret Hart's a good one.
So I think Bret Hart, sort of like very good, maybe like Kurt Angle would be a good one too.
I think
Zack Sabre Jr. is a good shout. Yeah, they both got the blonde. Yeah, Zack Sabre Jr. might be the best modern one.
Yeah, Zack Sabre Jr.
I like that a lot. That was fun. Yeah, that'll be solely for like the 10 people who like wrestling, like diehards like us that enjoy that.
Those people, like we see you.
Yes.
We want more suggestions. We want more ideas.
There's a lot of synergy here. So let's get to 5 through 10 because I feel like our 5 through 10s are going to look different, and that's what I'm very excited to see. My number 5 is Matthew Stafford. I think with his ability to evolve from post Megatron and pre Megatron, it's two different quarterbacks. Both of them were special on their own rights, but his current iteration of point guard in that offense, where they've shifted to being more of like, okay, well, we'll be more of an inside run team and rely on Kyron Williams a little bit more to take some of the stuff off the plate of Matthew Stafford and have him, get the ball to Puka Nacua for yak stuff. Now having Devontae Adams to be able to do some of the underneath, but also the over the top stuff as well. Like Stafford is capable of doing all of it. He still pulls out, all of the fun no look stuff that he has in his bag. Incredibly smart pre-play as well. Like I think there was a time period where he was one of the more underrated quarterbacks in football, and he could probably still be considered that. But I think as he's, in his Rams portion of his career, people have been able to recognize that more because he's played on good teams that have won rather than in Detroit where, he was, he was one of our 30 best quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era. And I did the write-up for it. And I said he was a Michelin star chef in a dive bar. Like nobody was ever going to give him the credit he deserved because, he was on a bad team. I think it's been nice to see him get his flowers over the past few years on a good team.
Yeah, I think Matthew Stafford's my number 6. And the reason he's 5 is because I think the person I have at 5 is a little better, but also younger. I think Stafford being 37, 38.
He's getting up there.
I took into like which quarterback would I want going forward, as well as the talent right now. But when it comes to just, there aren't many quarterbacks in the NFL like Matthew Stafford when he's on a heater, when he's on a run, where he just goes. When we talked about with Josh Allen, like the force that he plays with Matthew Stafford, it's like 4 straight throws where you're just like, I don't know how you do this, and I don't know how to defend this. It just happens. Yeah. There was a no-look throw against the Cardinals, I think week 18 on a dig route that he throws right behind Kazir White. And I'm like, I don't know what you want him to do because he's in perfect place to catch the ball, but he just doesn't. So I think Stafford is a really good shout here. I think he is comfortably one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league. But, when it comes to age, it gets difficult because, sometimes like he's not able to move the way that he used to. He's not able to kind of create a little bit when the pressure gets to him, but he's able to beat that with his mind and with his arm, which I think is impressive.
Absolutely. So who's your number 5?
My number 5 is Justin Herbert. And I know what people are going to say, like, Mr. What If Man, Mr. Yada, 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 got to win in the playoffs. And I say, I get it. I really do. But you really just got to watch him play. I know it's like, I don't want to be the watch the tape bro guy, but what Justin Herbert did last season was super impressive when it comes to his growth as a passer and also his growth as the leader of the Chargers. I think Jim Harbaugh unlocked a little bit more creativity from him, not only as a passer, but as a runner, as a scrambler. We forget that Justin Herbert was a runner at quarterback at Oregon. He was doing all the RPO stuff. And I think partially due to injury, but also the way that he had been programmed as a quarterback early in his career, he was taught to go to 1 to 2 to 3, and he is still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL when it comes to the quick processing of the game. I think that he's also added to his game when it comes to just the creativity that he used to have as a rookie, that he used to have as a young player. He's still adding that into his bag. I just wish in some of the big moments he would allow himself to be a little bit more creative. He would be a little bit looser, and I think that came back to haunt him in the Texans game, where he was always working on timing, and the Texans were able to jump a few routes for picks because he is going to work 1 to 2 to 3.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the stuff too, like, and I've said it before, where when people point out things, it's like, okay, it didn't happen because of this. It hasn't necessarily been excuses. Like, they've been legit reasons, and I think a lot of those reasons are going to keep coming up this year because, again, it's Ladd McConkey and already on pup Mike Williams. So there's that annual tradition checked off the box there. They haven't given him any help. And, last year, like, he was his leading target guy for a little bit was Will Dissly. Like, what are we doing here, man? I think that they should have done a better job at trying to get him at least one more quality receiver instead of the ghost of Mike Williams, who wasn't good last year with the Jets and Steelers. So a lot of these things aren't completely on him. And the game against Houston in the playoffs, like 2 of those 4 picks weren't his fault. At the same time, though, like my whole thing is like, I do need to see something the postseason from you. So I hope that we do, because I am a Herbert guy, and I long have been, but he did fall down the rankings a little bit for me this year. And I hope to see him win a playoff game and establish himself as like, okay, I can do this. We'll find out, in the near enough future what that looks like.
Yeah, I think that the Chargers have done a good job of building the infrastructure around him up front to continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I like Trey Harris and what he brings to that offense if he actually signs his rookie contract, which again, the rookie contract thing got to get that sorted out.
Yeah.
But I like what Justin Herbert can become with Jim Harbaugh as his coach. I don't know if I like what he can become with Greg Roman as his coordinator, but I think that's an entirely different story.
Right. All right. My number 6 is the quarterback that beat Justin Herbert in the playoffs. It's CJ Stroud. I think that so many of these guys at a very young age become the victim of expectation. And after 2023, the expectation of Stroud and the Texans was to jump into that contender bubble after trading for Stephon Diggs. And after the year that Stroud had as a rookie, it was incredible. And last year, the offensive line fell apart. He was the second most sacked quarterback in football. Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs both got injured. So it was really just Nico Collins, and it was a little bit of John Mechie sometimes, the occasional Xavier Hutchinson target. I think Dalton Schultz, the tight end. So like a lot of the issues with Houston last year is the players that they brought in to help take them to that next level got hurt. Especially Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell, losing both of them, especially Tank Dell for the second straight year before the playoffs. That stinks. So I don't think it diminished anything when it came to Stroud for me, especially like the game against Kansas City where they lost, yes, but they weren't blown out, and he was still at least keeping them alive while being sacked 8 times. So anything that happened with Houston this past year didn't make me change my opinion on Stroud. I think he's still a top 10 guy in the NFL. Hopefully this whole revamping the offensive line they did will do something. I know the bar isn't very high, but none of the guys that they brought in have very high bars themselves, so I'm still concerned about that. But again, nothing that happened last year makes me blink about Stroud.
So I had CJ Stroud at number 10, and I don't think anything made me blink about him as a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, but I also think that it showed some of the areas where he can grow. I think there was a lot of frustration, obviously, with the offense and the way that they were running the offense and the offensive line's protection issues. I would like to see him pick up a little bit more when it comes to protections and checking protections. When it comes to that aspect of the game, it's important to remember that with Bobby Slowick coming from the Shanahan tree, the quarterbacks don't normally set protection when it comes to the Shanahan offense. It's always the center. And once it's set, it's locked. You can't adjust it, which is why a lot of the issues that you see both the Niners, the Texans, and the Dolphins all have with protections, it's because you can't check it. You can't adjust it once it's
that's
locked.
Probably a big reason why Bobby Slowick's no longer there.
It is part of the reason why Bobby Slowick is no longer there. So I want to see CJ Stroud in a new offense. I think this offense is going to help him kind of show off a lot more of his talent over the middle of the field and his accuracy and ball placement. Like I said, I have him at 10, but he's one that I think can easily climb up, especially looking forward, and him being one of the younger players on this list.
Absolutely. So who is your number 6?
My number 6 is Matthew Stafford.
Okay, they're perfectly.
Yeah, I had Herbert 5, Stafford 6. Stafford is your favorite quarterback's favorite quarterback. Just he is the Unc still got it meme where like sometimes like he's just gonna make a few throws that you just gotta tip your cap. Like there's nothing else you can do, but that guy got us. So I think he's still a top 10 quarterback. I don't know for how much longer, but I'm gonna enjoy it while it's here.
All right. My number 7 will be the most polarizing one, at least according to like fans who are watching this, because I have Jordan Love as my number 7. I think, and you and I have talked about Jordan Love at length. I think the pure arrogance, parentheses, compliment, close parentheses, that he throws the football with is just incredibly fun to watch. And from the second half of 2023 up until now, he's matured and grown so much and helped the Packers get to the playoffs in 2023. It led them to a big playoff win against Dallas in 23. And then last year suffers the injury week 1 in Brazil, and it was pretty clear that something was off lower body wise for him throughout the rest of the year. I think that the addition of Matthew Golden should help and hopefully establish one of these guys as the number one in the offense rather than just having a bunch of like DeMar DeRozans, as you pointed out in one show that we did. So hopefully one of these guys can become like the definitive number one guy. And, they're hoping that it's Matthew Golden. So I think just the things that he did last year while playing more than likely hurt, still putting up good numbers, and doing it in a style that is such a throwback style of doing it. Really just, he's one of my favorite players to watch. And I think that he's only going to continue to get better. So there's not many guys I would take above him going forward. And I think that Green Bay has their long-term guy for sure. A guy who is going to lead them to many playoff wins.
So I was one off with Jordan Love. I had him at number 8. And
perfect.
I have him at 8. And like you said, he is one of the coolest quarterbacks to watch in the NFL because he is such a throwback version of a quarterback. He is not going to throw checkdowns. I don't think he's thrown a pass under 10 yards. It's like, I don't think that's in his game plan. And that's part of why the Packers picked up Josh Jacobs, why they got so good on the ground, is because they were like, okay, you don't want to throw a quick game? You don't like throwing a quick game? You don't have to. We'll just have you throw it 80 yards downfield. And the thing about Jordan Love that stands out is he holds on to the ball so long to let the routes get downfield. He doesn't take sacks. And he's always going to give you a chance at creating explosive plays with his arm. I would love to see him just cut down a little bit on the wacky bullshit interceptions, bullshit plays.
Was it this past year against the Rams where he was like falling like out of the end zone and just kind of threw it up?
Yes. There's also the Minnesota game where I think he had 4 interceptions.
Yeah, less than good.
Because of the way that he plays. Again, he is a throwback NFL quarterback. He would be like the best quarterback in the NFL if it was like 2005.
If we're still doing like wrestling comparisons, I think he would be just FTR as a whole because they're they're a modern throwback where they clearly take inspiration from several tag teams of the past, but they themselves have such a unique style where it works in today's world. So I think that he is, if Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood merged and became a quarterback,
it would be Jordan Love. And it's just, he plays with such a cool, like, relaxing vibe to him. And I think that he and CJ Stroud both do the same thing where they are nearly unflappable under pressure in big moments. They aren't phased. And I think that's really impressive for both guys. I have Love over Stroud just because, again, those explosive plays downfield, like he can create those while also avoiding getting sacked with some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I believe his sack rate was like right behind or 2 spots behind Josh Allen for the lowest in the NFL this year.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the more underrated abilities when talking about like what makes a quarterback great is how often are you preventing sacks? Like obviously those things are going to happen, but a large number of sacks do take place because of the quarterback. So the fact that he's able to avoid them so much, he's a special quarterback. My number 8. Did we talk about your number 7 yet? If not, then we'll dive into that.
My number 7 is polarizing for a different way. My number 7 is Dak Prescott.
Okay, no, I think that's completely respectable.
People don't like Dak Prescott because he is the Cowboys quarterback and hasn't won a big playoff game. That's part of just being a Cowboys quarterback. I said in my story that I wrote, if I was teaching an alien how to play quarterback, I would show them Dak Prescott tape because everything is so crisp from the footwork to the passing mechanics to his processing to where his eyes should be on from going from 1 to 2 to 3. He's one of the best seam ball throwers in the NFL. I just think that, again, the age and the injury issues really that's what concerns me the most. That's the reason if I was putting Jordan Love or CJ Stroud or any of the other guys above Dak Prescott, it would be because of the injuries. Mm-hmm. But he's getting up there in age, coming off another big injury. But I still love watching him throw the football because you're not going to find many quarterbacks as aggressive as he is, but also sort of similar to Jordan Love, putting the ball right exactly where it needs to be.
And for the second time in a 5-season span, we found out just how valuable he was with his absence, because he goes down and the Cowboys season immediately just goes to shit. So I think you give him a real downfield threat in George Pickens to complement CeeDee Lamb, as long as, cooler heads prevail and no wacky bullshit happens locker room wise and ego wise. That could be a very fun offense to watch. Regardless, it'll be like minimum, like a good 5-week stretch where Dallas is very fun to watch offensively, as long as nothing wacky happens with Pickens and Lamb and things of that nature. But no, I'm perfectly fine having Dak there. He's a little bit lower for me, but I wouldn't argue with your ranking of him. I think pre-snap, maybe the smartest quarterback in the NFL when it comes to the diagnosis of things and making sure that he puts his offense in the best position to succeed. And looking forward to seeing, a healthy Dak Prescott back in 2025. My number 8 is another NFC East quarterback. It's Jayden Daniels in Washington. I think just the things that he did as a rookie for a franchise that's been just so trapped in hell for such a long time. They hadn't had a playoff win since 2005 before he got there. And immediately he comes in and the offense just clicks. He's a calculated risk taker downfield, can also do all the dual threat stuff that you want in a mobile quarterback. If they figure out a way, like I don't think Terry McLaurin's going anywhere. If they can figure out a way to get another like number 2 receiver that can really complement that offense, I think it'll take them to even greater heights. But I love everything that Jayden did last year. And we see it more and more now. We saw it with CJ Stroud in 2023. We saw it with Jayden Daniels last year. These guys coming in and just making immediate differences. And he certainly did that with Washington last year. So he's only going to keep getting better, and he's my number 8 quarterback.
So I have Jayden Daniels in my honorable mention. And
okay.
I think Jayden Daniels can be in this conversation next year. I would love to see him continue to keep his efficiency up without taking as many sacks. But what he is right now is one of the best deep ball passers in the NFL, one of the best scramblers in the NFL. That's where he can hurt you. He is super, super explosive with his arm and with his legs. And then last season, as the games went on, he continued to grow in his processing and passing over the middle of the field, which I love. I can't believe I'm about to compliment Cliff Kingsbury, but I appreciate what Cliff Kingsbury did with helping him grow as the season went along. He didn't overload him with every single thing that you need to be a 1,000 level quarterback in the NFL. It was just, let's get you started with the 101 stuff first. And then we're going to add as we continue to grow, as you've seen NFL game speed. So the stuff that gets difficult isn't actually that hard when you've seen NFL game speed. Yep. So I want to see him be a little bit more efficient without taking sacks. I want to see him retain that insane scramble number, that insane efficiency on scrambles. I mean, he was one of the best scramblers in the NFL, and he also scrambled the most in the NFL. So I want to see him do it again. I hate to say like you got to do it again to prove it, but I would love to see him continue to remain that incredibly efficient.
All right, who's your number 8? My
number 8 was Jordan Love. And
okay.
Yeah, it's just sort of the same as what you said. It's tough to put anybody. It's tough to keep him out of the top 10 when he does the high level stuff.
Yeah,
the way he does the downfield arm strength, the accuracy, the way he avoids taking sacks. I think all of that is incredibly good. It is very similar to old style quarterbacks. Just got to make sure you avoid the falling apart 4 interception games.
Yeah, absolutely. My number 9, we talked about him already. I put Justin Herbert at number 9. For the things I pointed out near the end, is just I got to see it in big moments. Don't doubt his talent. Don't doubt the arm talent at all. I would like to see him be able to put it on display more. And I think he's kind of being nerfed by his own team and his own offensive coordinator and the way that they go about offense a little bit. He's throwing to Ladd McConkey and question marks right now. So I would like to see him get a little bit more help, but don't doubt the physical talent at all. So Justin Herbert's my number 9. And another guy we already talked about, Dak Prescott's my number 10. So everything comes back around. I know who your number 9 is. We're not going to agree on this at all, but go ahead and tell me why he's your number 9.
Geno Smith, baby. If Jordan Love were old, I love watching Geno Smith play. For the same reason I love watching Jordan Love. he is going to take a lot of throws that not many quarterbacks are willing to try. And he's going to make a lot of throws that a lot of guys aren't willing to try or make. I think that high level accuracy, the arm strength hasn't gone at all. And again, he has been super efficient at avoiding sacks, even despite the Seattle offensive line being one of the worst units I've ever seen in terms of pass protection. I think him with the Raiders offense with Chip Kelly is going to be really fun. I would love to have him higher, but again, he's on the older side. And I just, again, going forward, I'd want another guy. And then my number 10 is CJ Stroud. I'm so curious behind what he does in Houston this year because, again, I don't want to be a homer, but all of this is very similar to Trevor Lawrence. And the great quarterback comes in, gets you to a couple playoff wins right outside the playoffs, and everything kind of changes. The system around him is not good. And then the quarterback falters because of it. So I want to see him. I want to see if the Texans can do right by CJ Stroud.
All right. Let's talk about some honorable mentions here real quick. I guess my 11 through 15 range. I had Jalen Hurts at number 11. I know he's kind of like the hot topic discussion right now with everybody and their mother asking if he's better than whether it be Justin Herbert, whether it be Cam Newton, like all of that. I think 11 is a perfectly fine spot for him. Definitely not a bad quarterback by any means. I think a good starting quarterback. But it's okay to acknowledge that he is aided by the incredible roster that the Philadelphia Eagles have around him. So I think putting him at number 11 is a fine spot for him, and he's a really good honorable mention.
My number 11 is Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
This is my homer. And again, like I said in the story, any quarterback from like 6 or like 5 through like 14 can be in the top 10 at any given week. They're all kind of clumped together.
It's a game of musical chairs from like weeks like 7 to like 15. It's like, okay, this guy had a big week, this guy had a down week, and you can rearrange them a lot of different ways.
But I think with Trevor Lawrence, the high-level throws, the accuracy, the arm strength, the aggression throwing downfield is so good. He is just streaky. That's my biggest issue with Trevor Lawrence. He's streaky, and I think that he tries a little. He puts too much dip on the chip a lot, and I think that the Jaguars haven't helped him out a lot with making him right, even when he puts too much dip on the chip. But it irks me sometimes, you know. So I have him at number 11.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is also one of my honorable mentions, and of the teams that I've watched the most of, I would say over the last 3 to 4 years, Jacksonville is one of them, in large part because of Trev. The last time that he was completely healthy, they won the division, they won a playoff game, and they gave the Chiefs hell in Arrowhead. I think that. And in 2023, they were 8-3 at one point, and then just the laundry list of injuries that kept piling up for him. He had the high ankle sprain going into the game against Cleveland. He threw a bunch of interceptions. They still had a chance to win it. Dealt with a concussion. I think dealt with a hip. Like, it just became too much where Jacksonville kept asking him to be Superman throughout all of it, and he just physically couldn't, and that was a big reason why they fell apart down the stretch. And then last year, everybody was checked out. Like, Doug was checked out 2 weeks into the year. A bunch of players were just checked out. He gets hurt again. I think that with a completely healthy season, Brian Thomas, we'll see what Travis Hunter looks like. They got better in the secondary as well, did Jacksonville, to help Tyson Campbell out. I think that's a team. Won't be surprised at all if we're talking about the Jaguars winning the AFC South, so long as Trevor stays healthy and the defense at least gets a little bit better. So I'm completely on board with putting Trevor in that range.
Yeah, I think the Jaguars will be competitive this year.
I agree.
This is all I really want. You just compete. Don't roll over.
I agree. Baker Mayfield is also in my honorable mentions. Very fun quarterback to watch. Very chaos bullshit type of stuff that happens sometimes. But I'm trying to think, who would he be as a wrestler? I think the collective Spike Dudley. I was gonna say the Guns, Austin and Colton, if they became one guy. In terms of like attitude,
in attitude, I get it. I think Baker Mayfield is the wrestler that thinks he can do stuff athletically that he cannot, but he's gonna try it anyway.
I think he's Juice Robinson.
Yeah, like Baker Mayfield is a good quarterback. He's a solid quarterback, but there's just a clear athletic limitation that I don't think Baker Mayfield knows that he has. He's going to get himself into a lot of trouble. And I think what Liam Cohen and what Dave Canales did was help organize this offense to the point where even if he does try some things that you don't have the facilities for, it's not going to be damaging. And I think that he has grown in terms of just the confidence, and they maximize his ability and his arm strength, which I think is his greatest quality, throwing outside the hashes by giving him a lot of quality receivers out there. So I'm a fan of Baker Mayfield. I don't know if I am like, I think he's comfortably in the top half of NFL quarterbacks.
I would say that too. I ranked him number 12 on my list. So
yeah,
he's in the upper half for sure. I put Goff at 14. I think that he's one of the guys with the most to prove this year. Ben Johnson's gone. Can you still be that good? Go show me. So that's my biggest thing with Goff.
I have Jared Goff at number 12 because I just have a lot more respect for Jared Goff and what he did last season. I think that he takes on a lot. I think people don't give him as much credit for what he does especially with an offense that has a great ground game, has Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, but outside of Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta as receivers, it's a lot of question marks. And I think that his confidence has grown a lot. I see him a lot as like, it's very similar to when Kirk was playing for the Vikings before he snapped his Achilles, in just the aggression and the confidence he had in his arm and in the system that really made me grow an appreciation for him. So I think that he is comfortably in like the top half of like the top six, not top half of the top 16, but he is in that 11 to 13, 14 range.
I got you. No, that's completely fair. Guys who like missed out on the top half for me, Kyler Murray. I'm just tired of doing it every year. I'm like, okay, Kyler will be good for like 6 weeks and then become sporadic throughout the rest of the year. I have him at 17. I would love for him to put together something where he establishes himself as one of those like 10 to 14 guys. But until I see it, I can't really put him there.
Yeah, I think for Kyler, it's just the middle of the field. You can't see over the middle of the field, and that hurts the offense. It limits what the offense can do. And just a lot of the miscommunications between him and Marvin Harrison Jr. were really weird last season. So I have a lot of questions about what Kyler can be, but when he's on, there's not a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL more fun than he is.
Right. I would agree with that. All right. Good stuff all around. That is our top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. What do you have coming over on SB Nation in the near future or now that folks can check out?
So I have a breakout player series, one breakout player for each team. They get released by division each day. Today the past few days have been the AFC West, the NFC West, and the NFC South. So make sure to keep up with that. I'm doing a lot more work with the 2026 NFL Draft to kind of build out our NFL Draft database and knowledge of these prospects before the college football season happens. So you know who you need to keep an eye on, especially as a lot of teams look towards the draft after like week 5, because we know which team is going to be bad. But outside of that, follow me on social media, see what I'm doing, see where I'm going.
All right. For me, I'm doing a quarterback superlatives piece that will be coming out very soon. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then go and check out the complete series, top 30 quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era, that is over on SB Nation. All 3 parts have been released, so you can go and see who the panel ranked as the top 30 quarterbacks, which was a very fun thing to do. It took a good amount of time. I think over 4 months it all came together. Very proud of how it turned out. So I hope everybody checks that out. If you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe. If you're listening as a podcast, leave a review and keep along throughout the NFL season, where it won't just be one episode a week like it's been over the last month or so in the dead period. We'll be doing 2 to 3 shows per week on the Pump Fake. So be sure to follow along. Till then, appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Pump Fake.